participation in the contentious Finance Bill 2024, tax experts have today called for the immediate implementation of the national tax policy to provide certainty to investors as they make investment decisions in Kenya. Addressing the press in Nairobi, Kevin Chege, a tax expert at PKF Kenya, said the implementation of the national tax policy will provide the element of predictability in tax policies, which is an important factor for investors. Here is more on the same.
Tax experts now want the government to adopt the national taxation policy to provide tax predictability and transparency in tax policies. This is in the wake of the potential unfriendly business environment that might be brought about by some of the proposed taxes in the Finance Bill of 2024. According to Kevin Chege, tax expert from PKF Kenya, an unfriendly tax environment will increase the cost of doing business, which will eventually lead to businesses scaling down or at worst ceasing operations.
With predictability, you are able to make long-term decisions, and you are able to know that you are cushioned when you are coming to invest in the country. We are trying to market Kenya as a investment destination, so the national tax policy will provide the much needed predictability in tax policies.
PKF Kenya also called for the alignment of the Finance Bill 2024's fiscal policy with the international best practices in taxation, which will in turn create a conducive environment for foreign investors.
The Finance Bill 2024 proposes to subject to withholding tax the issue of software distribution, which goes against international best practice. So we are going to lose so many investors in that sphere, as well as become very punitive to those who are already operating in that sphere.
The call by PKF Kenya comes at a time when the National Assembly concluded the Finance Bill 2024 public participation.
I decline to make any proposal because I feel whatever we say will not be put into use.
A session which saw the common mwananchi who had not gotten a chance to appear in the previous committees tabled their views.
It's not that we are running away from tax, but we are looking at things that will enable these children to stay at school. So Bwana Chair, hapo naomba hiyo mkati ambayo unaona, tafadhali, I know it is very sweet, but tafadhali usihakikisha ya kwamba iko tax free, so that this child akipata mkati, a bite, can go to school.
I'm also requesting that the 2.5% that is being introduced for vehicles also be removed.
Introducing taxes on the nature then, which is one of the clean cooking fuels, really makes it unaffordable to majority of Kenyans, and the government itself has actually set a target of universal access to clean cooking by 2030. That will not be achieved if taxation of this nature is introduced.
The bill, which is set to be considered in Parliament from this week, has continued to attract a strong resistance from a cross-section of leaders, including those in the ruling administration. Hilary Kabila, GBS News.
President William Ruto has assented to the Supplementary Appropriation Bill 2024 and the Division of Revenue Bill 2024 into law. He assented to the bills on Monday at State House, Nairobi. The Division of Revenue Bill 2024 was sponsored by the Chairperson Budget and Appropriations Committee, Dindi Nyoro. It was read for the first time on March 12, 2024. The bill was subsequently considered by the National Assembly and passed on March 20, 2024 without amendments. Thereafter, it was forwarded to the Senate, which considered and passed it on May 2, 2024 with amendments and referred it back to the National Assembly for concurrence. The National Assembly considered and rejected the Senate's amendments on the 13th of May 2024. The Division of Revenue Bill 2024 seeks to provide for the sharing of revenue raised nationally between the national government and the county government for the financial year 2024-2025.
Parliament, the Speaker of the Senate,
our farmers, even from our special economic zones. God bless you.
Moving on, the office of the former President of Kenya claims that the staff have not been paid for a period of 2 years. Addressing reporters on Monday, the office spokesperson, Kanze Dena, says she is not able to compound in totality how much all that is. She claimed that out of the 655 million Kenya shillings allocated to the office in the year 2022-2023 financial year, the office has received only 28 million Kenyan shillings. Kanze further alleged staff intimidation and night calls at the office of the former President Uhuru Kenyatta. Dena also alleged that the government has also failed to renew contracts of 2 employees. The employees, she said, were herself and the administrator George Karaoke. At the same time, the office distanced itself from the budget estimates tabled in Parliament.
This office. State House chooses a verbal form of communication on official issues or chooses not to respond to correspondence by this office. This includes the requisition for fuel maintenance, office operations and facilitation, pending renewal of contracts and budget returns. We all know the importance of written communication in any office to maintain transparency and order. In the press kit that we have availed to you, you will see internal communication within the office to enable us account for actions taken following verbal non-committal communication from State House. We have also seen the continuous onslaught of the office on local dailies, as well as leaking of misleading documents by State House, presenting the office of the third retired president in bad light to the public. It has never been the intention of this office to engage with State House via the public gallery on matters that should be handled between the two offices. The position of the office of the third retired president is a respect of institutions, and as such has remained silent for the last 2 years, hoping for a formal engagement with State House. However, the continued address of the issue in the public domain has informed the move by this office to give a formal response on the real state of affairs. We call upon the relevant institutions led by Parliament, who are mandated to uphold the rule of law and defend the Constitution, the Auditor General, who is tasked to hold the government accountable in its expenditure, as well as the Controller of Budget, to look into the issues that we have raised. As an office, we are willing and ready to engage. However, it is our observation that there is a lack of commitment and reluctance by the government in fulfilling the Presidential Benefits Act in totality. Now, there was an issue that was raised in a statement about Mama Ngina Kenyatta. So, as pertains the Act, we all know that Her Excellency Mama Ngina Kenyatta, in her capacity as a former First Lady and surviving spouse of the late President Jomo Kenyatta, is entitled to benefits amounting to 50% of her husband's pension. The 3 Range Rovers that Her Excellency Mama Ngina Kenyatta has in her possession were allocated to her by the late President Daniel Arap Moi and the late President Mwai Kibaki during their respective tenures, and replaced accordingly after every 3 years, that is. Now, clearly, the government spokesperson said that they gave her the cars, but clearly the government of the day has not provided her with any vehicles. In fact, we would like to clarify that on the 18th of July 2023, at 7 p.m., all her drivers and security detail allocated to her were withdrawn from their residences via phone. The claims in the media that personnel were reinstated is false. To Capital, fuel cards for her vehicles were also blocked since March 2023 to date, and vehicle maintenance denied. She fuels and maintains these government vehicles, one of which has been unserviceable for approximately over 1 year. We do note that there are other beneficiaries of the Presidential Retired Benefits Act, which include the former Prime Minister, Right Honorable Raila Odinga, the first retired Vice President, Honorable Mudi Awori, and the second retired Vice President, Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka. We also know that the current Prime Cabinet Secretary, Honorable Musalia Mudavadi, was also a beneficiary of this office before his new role in the current government. While the picture painted by Mr. Mwaura of the government's commitment to support the office of the retired president in accordance to the law is the ideal situation, it saddens this office to inform the public that unfortunately that picture does not exist. And our worry as an office is a precedence that is being set by the government of the day. Their decision to blatantly ignore execution of the Presidential Act number 11 of 2023 seems to open up a Pandora's box that will leave a retired head of state at the mercy of the government of the day.
President William Ruto and his deputy Rigathi Gachagua blanketed their differences on Sunday after attending the Akorino Church function in Nakuru County. The two leaders have been reading from different scripts, figured out on how painfully they got to power, and urged the young leaders to go slow in playing their politics. The deputy president's late arrival to the service after his spouse, President William Ruto, clearly brought out the difference in the presidency and a breach of protocol, as Davis Karani now reports.
The war between President William Ruto and his deputy Rigathi Gachagua keeps on escalating each and every day, even as the two leaders make efforts of hiding it in the public. The two leaders, who have been reading from different scripts, came out on Sunday and shared their experiences on how they came to power, as President William Ruto warned the young leaders from creating the divisive language within the government and follow them for their leadership mentorship.
Tufanye kazi kwa pamoja. Wengi wenu mnajua mahali tulianza. Hawa viongozi wote hawa. Kina Jane hapo, kina Martha, hawa watu wote walikuwa pamoja.
The president was forced to release the statement after a section of young leaders said to be moving around the country campaigning for the replacement of Rigathi Gachagua as deputy president with a young person, a move that made the DP retrieve back into his backyard and call for unity of his community, sentiments that made the majority leader Kimani Ichung'wah react and rubbish the DP's statements, saying that they are of personal interest.
Kama tungetaka kufanya one man, one vote, one shilling, it would not take us more than 2 weeks. We would do it if we meant business. But let us not use our communities to try and coerce or blackmail either the government of Kenya or President William Ruto because of our own individual selfish ends. That I shall never join any chorus.
On the other side, Gachagua's pointman Nyeri Governor Mutahi Kahiga roared to the president, and in his sentiments, he asked the president to respect the DP after he was alleged to have been denied to use a military chopper for his journey into Nakuru, a move that Kahiga could not stomach.
Sidanganywe sana ati hao watu wako na furaha. When their son is complaining kidogo analialia hapo, kama leo tuliona hakuenda na ndege ya serikali, alienda na ndege hii za kawaida huko Akorino. Mnasema apewe ndege yake kama ilivyo inastahili aende nayo. Tunataka kuwakumbusha kitu kimoja na uambie rais hivi. Rais aliingia hapa Nyeri akiwa na Biblia kwa mkono. Na alikuwa anatusalimia, Bwana asifiwe mwadhani agoshwo. Hata sasa tunataka aendelee kusema nini? Wakati tunaongea mambo yanayotuhusu, tunaangalia rais, hatujui ni nani alimkaribia. Siku hizi rais anajipiga kifua.
The UDA party and the entire Kenya Kwanza administration is facing division as two groups rise, one aligned to President Ruto and the other aligned to the Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua. Could this be a rematch of what transpired in the Uhuru Ruto administration? Davis Karani, GBS News, Nairobi.
Many thanks for joining this live broadcast. We have a lot lined up for you in our new segment tonight. But first, let us take a quick break. We'll be right back with even more.
Is the topic for me. Hebu watuambie wanabebanga wapi? Where? Anyway, I'm so excited about the topic. They should tell us kama ni kwa magoti ama ni kwa tumbo ama ni wapi.
So today about the topic is pregnant men. You are going to see about that. We have the one gentleman in the building.
Maybe for me you explain to me how nyinyi ni career aje, tunafeel aje the same aje.
First of all, men we are also pregnant. Why? When you see, right when the wife gets pregnant, she will start vomiting, right? When she starts vomiting,
so you already vomit.
Okay, I cannot vomit. I'm already psychologically now. I also start changing. She's changing physically, I'm changing
psychologically. Yeah.
That's where it starts.
Okay.
No. It's not only 9 months. Because also, kuna vitu nimegain from that pregnancy zenye zinafaa zitoke kwangu. Mishiri.
The stretch marks?
Zitaisha. Uko nazo.
You don't have?
Uko nazo.
If I marry a woman, we are already one. So I feel what she feels.
So through the 4 gospel books, Matthew, Mark, and Luke, John, we can know the heart of Jesus in depth.
그리고 우리가 느끼는 그 예수님을 성경을 통해 느낄 수 있어서 너무 감사합니다.
And the Jesus that we can feel him through the scriptures, and I'm very thankful about that. Jesus Christ came to this earth for our
죄를
sins.
지셨고,
He carried our sins,
십자가에 못 박혀 죽어 죄의 형벌을 당하셨고,
and he was crucified, and he received the punishment for sins,
무덤에 들어가셨다가,
and he was put into the tomb,
사흘 만에 부활하셨습니다.
and resurrected in 3 days.
이것이 우리가 말하는 복음입니다.
This is the gospel that we speak.
예수님께 우리 죄를 위해 죽으신 이야기.
About how Jesus died for our sins. The purpose of Jesus being
우리
crucified.
죄를 담당하기 위하여 십자가에 못 박혀 죽으셨습니다.
He was crucified to pay for our sins.
예수 십자가에 못 박혀 죽으심으로 우리 죄가 분명히 씻어졌는데,
And through Jesus being crucified, clearly our sins have been washed clean.
참 안타깝게도 많은 사람은 여전히 죄인이라고 말합니다.
However, unfortunately, many people still say that they are sinners.
Everywhere, GBS.
Welcome back. You're still watching GBS News 9. Liquor traders have today called for a national dialogue to conclusively deal with the contentious supply of illicit alcohol in Kenya. Speaking when he made his submission during the conclusion of the Finance Bill 2024 public participation at KICC Nairobi, Mr. Boniface Gachoka, the Secretary General of the Bar, Hotel and Liquor Traders Association, emphasized the urgent need for collaboration between the government, law enforcement agencies and stakeholders in the alcohol industry to tackle this pressing issue. The call for a national dialogue by the Bahlita Secretary General comes at a critical time when the country is still grappling with the adverse effects of illicit liquor in the market.
I don't want to get into so much of what was said and to repeat, but my chair is just to bring to your attention that do you know that 60% of the liquor that is consumed in market is either counterfeit, illicit, or contraband? Do you know that? We are just coming from a conference here last week by Anti-Counterfeit Authority. So my request is one, can we utilize the space or come up with mechanism on how we can reduce illicit, counterfeit, and contraband of liquor so that we can be able to increase on the revenues that we're supposed to generate, that we're supposed to increase on the taxes? Can we come up with a national conversation on how well we can work against these things that is affecting our health, this thing that is affecting, and you can imagine we are losing 252 billion worth in terms of illicit and counterfeit. So my request is one, let us work on a way that we will reduce illicit and counterfeit consumption for us to enrich this country and increase the taxes that are supposed to be contributed. Thank you so much.
The critical shortage of medical oxygen in Kenya has emerged as a leading cause of fatalities for numerous patients requiring urgent care. Concerns have been raised by stakeholders regarding deficiencies in the production, distribution, and utilization of this life-saving resource. At a forum on Monday organized by the African Population and Health Research in Nairobi, stakeholders convened to address these challenges. Discussion centered on collaborative strategies to extend access to medical oxygen, highlighting the urgent need for concerted action to avert further loss of lives. Here are the details. And now, moving on, in efforts to stem the tide of drug trafficking and substance abuse, the Anti-Narcotics Unit in Malindi, in collaboration with their counterparts from Lamu, Mombasa, executed a meticulously planned operation that culminated in the apprehension of 2 suspected traffickers and the seizure of a substantial quantity of illicit drugs. Acting on a timely tip-off, the officers intercepted a Mercedes-Benz Actros along the Mariakani-Mavueni Road, thwarting the transportation of over 429 kilograms of bang, valued at an estimated 12 million Kenya shillings on the street. Susan Nganga with the full report.
The Anti-Narcotics Unit in Malindi, in collaboration with their counterparts from Mombasa, apprehended 2 suspected traffickers, a driver and his assistant, and seized over 429 kilograms of bang, estimated to be worth 12 million shillings on the streets. The 28-year-old driver, Joseph Nzomo, and his 27-year-old accomplice, Auris Godfrey, were arrested along with the seized drugs and taken to Mariakani police station. The truck was also impounded. Over the years, Mombasa County has been identified as a significant transit hub for drug trafficking within East Africa, serving as a pivotal point along the southern route for global narcotics, destined for Asia and Europe. Some of the heroin and cocaine en route to Asia, Europe, and the United States has, however, found its way into the little villages at the coast and turned into drug dens.
And now back to the previous story. The critical shortage of medical oxygen in Kenya has emerged as a leading cause of fatalities for numerous patients requiring urgent care. Concerns have been raised by stakeholders regarding deficiencies in the production, distribution and utilization of this life-saving resource. At a forum on Monday organized by the African Population and Health Research Center in Nairobi, stakeholders convened to address these challenges. Discussions centered on collaborative strategies to exchange access to medical oxygen, highlighting the urgent need for concerted action to avert further loss of life. Here are the details. The dire shortage of medical medicine in Kenya has become a primary factor contributing to the loss of lives among many critically ill patients. Stakeholders have voiced concerns over inadequacies in producing, distributing and utilizing this vital resource. During a recent forum organized by the African Population and Health Research Center in Nairobi, stakeholders gathered to confront these pressing issues. The discussions focused on collaborative approaches aimed at improving access to medical oxygen, underscoring the immediate necessity for unified efforts to prevent additional casualties.
Without oxygen, you are going to operate on a patient. The patient, you must have oxygen to do that.
At the forum, Honorable Robert Pukose, the Senator of Bungoma County and Chair of the Health Committee, say they are looking forward to work with the national government and the county government on how medical oxygen is going to be available for Kenyans at minimum costs. The members of parliament are now seeking to zero-rate medical medicine equipment in the Finance Bill 2024 to ensure patients access oxygen services when they visit hospitals.
We are looking forward to see a very clear roadmap by government and county government on how medical oxygen is going to be available for Kenyans at minimum costs, how medical equipment that is supposed to manufacture oxygen is going to get minimum tax or zero rated in terms of taxation.
Health Research Center and the Institute of Public Finance showed that the majority of hospitals across all 47 counties lack medical oxygen facilities.
Our hope is that with all of us, coming together, the government, the national government, the county governments, but also other stakeholders and investors, that we can actually solve the gaps that we identify in the value chain around oxygen.
The survey further shows that there is inadequate staff with the knowledge and technical expertise to run and maintain medical oxygen equipment. According to the study, the Coast region has 106, Nairobi has 104, Eastern has 92, Central 38, Western 36, and Nyanza 22.
Upande mwingi ni wafanyikazi. Kwa mfano, wengi hawana ujuzi wa kutosha, wengi labda hawatoshi katika ile hali ya numbers, na pia ukiangalia kuna ile kwa kimambo tunaita laxity katika ile hali ya kufanya administration ya medical oxygen.
Few counties, including Busia, Elgeyo Marakwet, and Homa Bay, have implemented medical oxygen projects as part of their development priorities, according to the Budget Implementation Review reports. Most of these counties heavily rely on donor financing for medical oxygen, raising sustainability concerns. Do keep your comments coming in through our SMS line 21144 and GBS TV Africa on all our social media handles. That report brings us to our international news, but first let us take a quick commercial break.
So if someone is open to that extent, are men ready to talk?
What will Eunice think about me if I tell her I'm not okay? Because there are those expectations placed by the society. And that's why I talked about the socialization.
Why should you be so much drained or weighed down by the thought of what will my wife say? What will people say?
You get to know that, yes, I'm a man, but before I'm a man, I'm a human being. And as a human being, I have feelings and I have emotions, just like a woman.
We are having the second lady of the country who is advocating so much about the boy child in very different ways.
And letting it out is not umama. And also don't let people place value on you. You're the one who defines your value.
It is men who are bringing all this to themselves. Because if we can maybe track it back, who said, the question I ask, who said men should not cry? Who said men should?
Hello everyone!
Everywhere, GBS.
Welcome back to the broadcast, and now to matters international news. The UN has condemned an attack by RSF paramilitaries in Sudan that left at least 100 people dead, including 35 children. An attack that occurred in the village of Wad al-Noura in Al-Jazira state on Wednesday. International displacement in Sudan since the start of the conflict has almost reached the 10 million mark, with food insecurity being an increasing factor in people's decision to flee. Over 2 million people have fled across Sudan's borders into neighboring countries, mainly Chad, South Sudan, and Egypt. The UN Refugee Agency reported of over 600,000 Sudanese arriving in Chad since the start of the crisis. The UN Health Agency sounded the alarm over the dire health situation in Sudan, which has been further exacerbated by the humanitarian crisis. The health system in Sudan is collapsing, with 65% of the population lacking access to care, with the WHO warned of record number of measles cases in 2023 and expecting 2024 to be worse. The agency has also expressed concern over the lack of treatment for people suffering from chronic conditions such as diabetes.
You've seen people coming on a daily basis by dozens in a very, very bad shape. And most of them are women, children who have experienced an unimaginable trauma.
We need an end to the conflict. At a minimum, we need a ceasefire. We need to be able to scale our operations, and for that we need the humanitarian access. We need long-term political intervention We need long-term political intervention that will allow the peace.
Nigeria's federal government has announced that it will acquire a maximum of 3.5 million power meters by the end of the 2024 in a move to increase revenue collection in the West African state. The country's Ministry of Power, through its cabinet secretary Adebayo Adelabu, announced this, echoing the recent resolution by the government to purchase over 10 million meters in the next 5 years. Nigeria has been experiencing acute power shortages in recent years, through the government of President Tinubu promising to resolve the stalemate. Of the energy regulator stated that they had received thousands of complaints from various households last year alone, relating to 57% of the complaints. A Zambian court on Friday jailed 22 Chinese nationals over cyber crimes that included internet fraud and online scams targeting Zambians and other people from Singapore, Peru, and other United Arab Emirates. The magistrate court in the capital, Lusaka, jailed them for a period ranging from 7 to 11 years, through the court also finding them between $1,500 to $3,000 after they pleaded guilty to charges of computer-related misrepresentation, identity fraud, and illegally operating a network service on Wednesday. A man from Cameroon nation also received a prison sentence and fine on the same charges. Here is the full report.
The court has also fined them between $1,500 to $3,000 after they pleaded guilty to charges of computer-related misinterpretation, identity fraud, and illegally operating a network service or service on Wednesday. They were part of a group of 74 people, the majority of them Zambians, arrested in April over what police described as a sophisticated internet fraud syndicate. Cybersecurity analyst Ali Kingston Wheeler said,
"This is just the beginning. In the past, we have seen criminals walking away freely after committing such or similar crimes. But this time, because we have the Cybersecurity and Cyber Crime Act or Bill, Cyber Crime Act in the country. So this is where now I can confidently say that the law or the act now is operational, and it's a warning even to other would-be offenders."
Police officers from the Commission, Police, the Immigration Department, and the Anti-Terrorism Unit in April swooped a Chinese-run business in an upmarket suburb of Lusaka, arresting the 77, including those jailed Friday. Authorities recovered over 13,000 local and foreign mobile phone SIM cards from firearms and 78 rounds of ammunition during the raid. Sylvia Makori, GBS News.
Israel on Saturday stated to have successfully rescued 4 hostages who were taken captive by Hamas fighters on the 7th of October. The hostages, identified as Noah Agamani, 26, Almog Miarchan, 22, Andrei Kozlov, 27, and Shlomi Ziv, 41, were rescued in a complex daytime operation in the Nuseirat refugee camp in central Gaza. The operation, which involved Israeli special forces, was the largest recovery of alive hostages since the war erupted. It brought a total number of rescued captives to 7, including one who was freed shortly after the October attack. Do keep your comments coming in through our SMS line 21144 and GBS TV Africa on all our social media handles. And now for sports lovers, it is time for your most anticipated part of the news, the sports news. Let's get sporty. The junior starlets arrived safely back home on Monday, June 10th, after defeating Burundi 3-0 in the first leg of the final round of the FIFA Under-17 World Cup qualifiers. Goals from Lorna Faith, Marion Serenge and Susan Akoth in the 11th, 43rd and 71st minutes respectively starred Kenya's to victory in the first leg of the final round of the qualifiers at the Abebe Bikila Stadium, Addis Ababa in Ethiopia on Sunday. The aggregate winner will punch an automatic ticket to the 2024 FIFA Under-17 Women World Cup in October, which will be held in the Dominican Republic. The 23-member squad comprises a blend of budding prodigies drawn from schools and clubs across the country. They are now preparing for the second leg against Burundi, scheduled for Sunday, June 16, 2024 at the Ulinzi Sports Complex. Ivory Coast secured a 1-0 win over Gabon to go top of Group F. Ivory Coast now leads with 9 points, 3 points above second-placed Gabon, who have 6 points. Kenya, who are third in the Group F with 4 points, 5 points below leaders Ivory Coast. Burundi are fourth in the table with the same points as Kenya. Kenya only leading on a goal difference. Gambia is the fifth with 3 points. Seychelles is last in Group F with 0 points. The Ivory Coast, Seko Fofana, scored the only goal in their 1-0 win against Gabon. Seko Fofana scored a right-foot screamer from the outside of the box in the 36th minute. Frank Kessie provided the assist. The next match in Group F is Kenya versus Ivory Coast on Tuesday, 11th. At the Ivory Coast is unbeaten and top of Group F, while Kenya is third in Group F and has lost 1 match, draw 1 match and won 1 match. In other Group F matches, Seychelles will take on Burundi, while Gabon will take on Gambia later on Tuesday. And that sports news brings us to the end of our news segment tonight. Here at GBS News and 9, we make your news our business. My name is Beatrice Njeri. Our sign language interpreter is Paul Mathenge. Good night.